What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kenzo for Life here, and today we're going to be talking about, is Activision scared of EA's Battlefield 6? For over a decade, one name has absolutely dominated the first-person shooter world. It's a titan of the industry, a cultural phenomenon that sold well over 425 million copies and has generated over $30 billion in revenue. Call of Duty hasn't just been a game, it's an institution, an annual event as reliable as the changing seasons. Even if its biggest rivals have had to admit defeat in boring corporate filings, Sony flatly stated in regulatory documents that as a competitor, Battlefield has simply failed to keep up, cementing Call of Duty's place on what looked like an untouchable throne. But then came 2021. In EA's boldest move yet, Battlefield 2042. It was hyped as the Call of Duty killer. Instead, it nearly killed itself. It was a massive commercial disappointment and a critical failure that drove away its most loyal fans. But was the fear it struck in Activision real? And more importantly, did the spectacular failure of Battlefield 2042 teach Activision all the wrong lessons? Today, we're breaking down the corporate strategies and industry chatter and the psychological warfare to figure out if the king of the FPS genre is actually worried about the challenger, or if it's just gotten lazy on its throne. First, you have to understand just how huge the Call of Duty empire really is. Its dominance isn't just about sales, it's about building a fortress. For years, the franchise has run a three-pronged attack: the premium annual game, the free-to-play beast that is Warzone, and the massive mobile gaming market. It's a perfect self-sustaining ecosystem designed to grab a player's attention and their wallet all year round. This power has created a gravitational pull that's almost impossible to escape. It's the default shooter for millions. The game friends buy because they know everyone else has it. This market control is Activision's greatest weapon. Publicly, the company acts completely unbothered. There are no frantic press releases or nervous interviews. And why would there be? When your main competitor launches a killer app that ends up as one of the most poorly reviewed games on Steam, it doesn't exactly make you sweat. If anything, it breeds confidence. Maybe overconfidence? While EA was dealing with the messy fallout from Battlefield 2042, Activision just kept marching on, pumping out new versions of Modern Warfare and Black Ops. The machine kept running, the money kept flowing, and from the outside, the throne looked safer than ever. But inside any fortress, small cracks can form, unnoticed, right before the walls start to shake. And across the battlefield, EA was quietly drawing up plans for a counterattack, built from the ashes of its most public disaster. Before EA could even think about a comeback, it had to figure out what went so horribly wrong. Battlefield 2042 wasn't just a buggy mess, it was a game with an identity crisis. In a desperate attempt to chase the trends set by Warzone and its own Apex Legends, DICE made a fatal mistake. It got rid of the classic class system that defined Battlefield. the distinct roles of medic, engineer, support, and recon were gone. In their place were specialists, hero characters with unique gadgets. A move that felt less like Battlefield and more like a cheap copy of something else. The fans were furious. The core teamwork, the very soul of the series, felt like it had been ripped out and replaced with a generic, trend-chasing gimmick. The community's complaints were loud and clear. No single-player campaign, sterile and empty maps, and a total abandonment of the series' gritty tactical heart. A DICE general manager later admitted it was a disappointment for everyone, and that the vision for the game wasn't super clear. It was a humiliating public failure and a masterclass in what happens when a franchise forget what made it special. For Activision, this should have been a victory lap. It was proof that their formula worked. But while EA was taking a beating, it was also taking notes. The passionate, detailed feedback from the betrayed Battlefield community wasn't just angry shouting, it was a blueprint. A step-by-step guide on exactly what their next move should be. After the dust settled from the 2042 disaster, EA did something surprising. They doubled down. They announced a massive overhaul, creating a new Battlefield Studios label to manage the franchise's future. And in a move that felt like a declaration of war, they poached a former general manager of Call of Duty, Byron Bede, to run the whole Battlefield operation. With multiple studios now working together, the message was unmistakable. This was not going to be a repeat performance. The strategy for the next Battlefield, which everyone is calling Battlefield 6, is a direct answer to every single complaint about its predecessor. It's basically a huge apology tour. Developers have been crystal clear. They're going back to the franchise's roots. They promised a return of the traditional 4-class system and a focus on what made the series famous. Huge battles, epic destruction, and a smart team-based gameplay. Even their release strategy is a cold, calculated move. Industry rumors point to a launch in October 2025. Carefully timed to get ahead of the inevitable Call of Duty holiday release. This isn't a company hoping for a lucky punch. This is a company planning a full-scale campaign. To top it off, reports and speculation suggest EA has set an ambitious target of hitting 100 million players, a number that would directly challenge Warzone. This isn't just a new game, it's a direct assault on the throne. And the most dangerous part for Activision, it seems to be working. The hype is not just real, it's overwhelming. In a jaw-dropping poll from a Call of Duty news account on Twitter, a staggering 80% of over 31,000 voters said they were more excited for the next Battlefield than the next Call of Duty. Let that sink in. The core audience of the reigning champ is, by a huge margin, more interested in the challenger. A new story is taking hold in the gaming community. Battlefield is the grounded shooter, a stark contrast to a Call of Duty that many feel has become a circus of silly, immersion-breaking microtransactions. Battlefield developers have even thrown shade, saying their game is about soldiers and that they don't think it needs Nicki Minaj. It's a jab that hits home for a growing part of the COD fan base who feel the series has lost its identity. Of course, hype doesn't equal sales. Many fans are still cautious, having been burned by the launches of both Battlefield 5 and 2042. The don't pre-order sentiment is strong, but you can't deny the shift in conversation. For the first time in years, Battlefield isn't the underdog fighting for scraps. It has captured the imagination of the entire FPS community and is shaping the narrative. And when you're as big as Call of Duty, losing control of the story is a very dangerous game. So, let's get back to the big question. Is Activision scared? If we're talking about going out of business, the answer is obviously no. The Call of Duty machine is too big and too profitable to be toppled by one game. There are no public signs of panic. But fear comes in many forms. The real question isn't whether Activision is scared of Battlefield 6, but whether they're scared of what it represents Battlefield's comeback is. Being built on fixing everything fans have been complaining about in Call of Duty for years. While COD focused on wild movement and celebrity skins, Battlefield is promising a return to tactical team-based war. If Battlefield 6 delivers on that promise with a polished, high-quality launch, it does more than just sell copies. It makes Call of Duty look old. It makes it look complacent, out of touch, and more interested in chasing fads than respecting its players. The real danger is that the failure of Battlefield 2042 taught Activision the wrong lesson. They might have seen its collapse as proof that players don't want real change, pushing them to keep playing it safe. Now they face a competitor that's doing the exact opposite. Listening to fan frustration and building the very game that a huge part of the community is begging for. Activision isn't scared of being outsold this year. They should be scared of being outclassed. They should be scared of the moment players put the two games side by side and decide that Battlefield is finally the one pushing the genre forward, while Call of Duty is the one stuck in the past. The corporate war between Activision and EA has entered a fascinating new chapter. Call of Duty is still the king, a financial behemoth without equal. But with its next entry, EA is mounting the most credible, well-funded, and strategically smart challenge in over a decade. They have the fan hype, a clear vision, and a direct pipeline into the frustrations of their rival's own audience. Battlefield 6 doesn't need to kill Call of Duty to win. It just needs to succeed. It needs to prove it can deliver the experience a huge part of the shooter community is starving for. It needs to prove that the king can bleed. The real question isn't whether Activision is scared right now, it's whether they'll have every reason to be a year from now. But hey, that's just my take. What do you all think? Is the Battlefield hype the real deal? Or will the Call of Duty Empire Strike Back and prove it's still on top? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the business of gaming. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay frosty.